So how do you keep a risk manager satisfied? JD Power and RIMS recently set out to find out, launching an unprecedented effort that resulted in the very first large commercial insurance report, looking at the key performance indicators of satisfaction among large commercial insurance customers. Here to walk us through the study is Tim Bebout, commercial insurance practice leader at JD Power. He joins us now from the RIMS offices in New York City. Tim, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Eli. It's great to be here.
So Tim, what were you looking to find out in this study?
It's an unprecedented study from the point of view of risk professionals on the performance or key performance indicators of their insurers and brokers. Key performance indicators that, if delivered upon by the insurer or broker, will create the greatest satisfaction for a risk professional with their programs.
How did you look at these KPIs?
Well, we broke them down into different categories in terms of for the insurer and the broker. But primarily the insurers, for example, the risk professionals identified that there's things such as service, things such as billing and payments. The performance in those categories were key in the risk professionals' assessment or experience with that insurer. The main purpose behind that really is to help the insurers and the brokers create a dialogue with the risk professionals in the future in terms of, these are the things that are really important to me, these are the things that give me the highest level of satisfaction, and if you don't deliver on those things, then potentially that could equate to a bad experience, which obviously could equate to problems with renewals or perhaps even being attractive for a prospective buyer with a broker or a risk professional.
So what were the top 5 things that drove satisfaction levels?
The top 5 things for the insurers in particular had to do with their interaction. That was one of the key drivers in the key performance indicator. In other words, if during the policy period, if there were changes or there was a difference in the risk perhaps, the interaction between the insurer and the risk professional was very important. Obviously, in a claim, at the moment of truth, as we call it, there's a very high level of expectation that the insurer will perform well in that time of need. Another one was billing and reducing a billing and payment, not just reducing errors, but having a smooth transaction. Obviously, in the world of risk, especially in these larger risk professional companies or managed by these risk professionals, there could be hundreds or thousands of employees. So imagine in a workman's comp arena where you might have several employees of different categories, full-time, part-time, coming off the books, on the books. Those could be very stressful for a risk professional to try to manage all of those transactions. So it's very key that the insurer has a very well laid out process for that to happen or to occur. Another key area for risk professionals is pricing. We found that although pricing tends to have more of an impact on the finding a new relationship with an insurer, certainly that is within the importance of some of the key performance indicators. But probably more importantly, that is program offerings, that the flexibility that the insurer provides during the creation of the policy or during the policy period of being able to adapt to the risk professional's needs during the course of the policy.
And what about for brokers?
Brokers, there's really 4 factors that were most important to risk professionals, and that had to do with ease of access, being able to reach a broker when they need to. Imagine today, right now, with conversations around TRIA, I'm sure that every company is probably calling to find out, and hopefully if that interaction has been happening throughout the policy period, there's already a plan in place to anticipate this new change. But also their ability to interact with the insurer and the risk professional together. They clearly the risk professionals considered the insurer and the broker separately. There was very little overlap in terms of the performance expectations of the two together, but there were some different expectations, and so the third expectation or key performance indicator that risk professionals felt was most important is the level of response. So once they've been contacted and they have a concern, how long will I have to wait for the broker to be able to resolve that for me? Very key to them. And finally, for the brokers, at least the risk professionals, is the fairness of the fees that are being charged for the services that the broker is offering. Obviously, that comes into play depending on the level of complexity of the relationship, but that always comes up in terms of that's a key performance indicator for risk professionals.
Were there any surprises in the report?
I think there's a couple surprises, but the one that really stood out to me personally was that, for example, the brokers performed very well in their understanding of the business was essential. In terms of the accessibility and actually talking to the brokers, their understanding of the risk professional's business was absolutely essential. And in many cases, most of the brokers that were surveyed did very well. However, in cases where they did not perform well in that category, the drop-off, the scoring was dramatic. I might add to that during the course of this study, we recognized that almost 40% of the respondents had some ERM or enterprise risk management role in the company or responsibility. And that was probably the area that had the least satisfaction. And so understanding the risk professional's business goes beyond just, I know what your building structure is, I know that you're located in one part of the country and you have cat peril issues. It has to do with, I also understand that you have a responsibility to enterprise risk management, and we need to be able to provide some support services and perhaps even new services that haven't been contemplated yet.
Interesting report, Tim. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
If you'd like to obtain a copy of the Large Commercial Insurance Report, visit the J.D. Power website.